My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey gang, welcome back. Chances are you've heard of Warren Buffett. Chances are you know Warren Buffett as being one of the most successful investors that the world has ever seen. Definitely when it comes to buying companies. But what kind of wisdom does Mr. Buffett have when it comes to real estate investing? Well, our guest today is not Warren Buffett, but he's a very, very smart and experienced real estate investor in his own right. Paul Moore, he runs a company called Wellings Capital. He's been in the business for many, many, many years. And today we're going to take a look at what they do, as well as some big lessons that have been learned from Warren Buffett. So, Paul, welcome to the show.
Dave, it's great to be here. Thank you.
All right. My pleasure. So, Paul, first things first, give us a little snapshot of you, of Wellings Capital, what you guys invest in, what the landscape looks like for your company as of, spring 2026 when we're recording this interview.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back a tiny bit, I sold my company at 34 years old. That was almost 30 years ago. I started investing in real estate, got into syndications, and I was banging my head up against the wall with multifamily when the huge run up of, the teens through 2022. And so we created funds, and now we have 8 funds at Wellings Capital. And these funds invest in a diversified portfolio across different geographies, different asset classes, different operators, different strategies, and even different places in the capital stack. So right now we have 2 funds available. We've raised about $220 million total from passive investors. And I love real estate, and I love Warren Buffett's principles.
Very good. So, Paul, you guys aren't necessarily operators per se. You're capital raisers. You're finding investors. You're finding good deals. You're putting them together via funds. So what was kind of that light bulb moment where you decided to stop banging your head against the wall and start just finding, really good operators to work with?
Well, I wrote a book that was humbly titled The Perfect Investment back in 2016 about multifamily.
Well, the perfect investment, not the perfect investor. So that is.
Yeah, right. And The Perfect Investment, I had a Bigger Pockets show on their Instagram and Facebook Live. And about 2 years after that book, I started saying, time out. It's not the perfect investment, because I'm looking around and seeing our competitors and friends overpaying, over leveraging, and believing trees will grow to the sky, meaning rents would keep going up at 9.2% a year in Tucson forever. And it just wasn't possible. And I had read, thankfully, a lot of Buffett stuff and Howard Marks, and realized that we were in a, what was probably going to turn out to be a bubble. And it turned out that it was. And so as we were preparing for that bubble, we pulled back out of multifamily. And we decided, why don't we go out and find the very best operators we can in mobile home parks, self-storage, light industrial, commercial retail, and multifamily, and invest with them. And that's what we decided to do. And when we got large enough, we started structuring our own deals with them. So JV type deals that, a typical investor could never get access to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. All right, lots of questions coming to my mind, but first things first, Paul, let's talk a little bit about some of the big learnings you've taken from Buffett and how you've applied that for your company.
Well, I just want to say this before I even say that. If you took Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway stock price and cut it by 99%, meaning for every dollar you took away 99 cents, it would still beat the S&P 500 over the last 61 years handsomely. And so I think Buffett knows something that, a lot of us need to learn. The first thing is focus. I spent years being a shiny object chaser, Mr. FOMO, always running after the next speculative deal. And I lost a lot of money. I even had a podcast called How to Lose Money. And a lot of pain, a lot of suffering for my wife. My kids missed me a lot because I was always chasing something new. And this was a huge mistake. I'm mostly going back 25 years to around 2000. And anyway, the one thing I learned from Buffett and Bill Gates, they both agreed on that the key to successful investing is extreme focus. Buffett, kind of transitioning from focus into the next thing, and that's boring. Buffett's life has always, since he was been in his early 20s, unbelievably boring. Most of us couldn't endure 1 week of his life. And for time's sake, I won't get into it, but go look it up. He was very boring. He made boring investments. One time, when the tech run up and people were making thousands of percents of return in 1999, he said, "I would rather invest in Wrigley's gum than in tech. I don't know where tech will be in 10 years, but I do know how people will be chewing gum, and that's where I'm going to invest." And of course, a lot of his friends who made fun of him, literally mocked him, lost a lot of money right after that, and he stayed standing, as he almost always does.
So back in the day, Paul, if you don't mind sharing, 25 years back when you had the shiny object syndrome, which I think a lot of us can relate to, what comes to mind is the different things that you were trying to do that had you so scattered? What were you doing at that point?
Well, we were doing great flipping houses, but it got boring. And so, I'm going back to 2001 or so. And so I said, well, if we can make money flipping houses, we ought to build houses. And my partner, who was, I think, more level-headed than me, more conservative, he said, no, I think I just want to keep flipping. We're making a good living. So he stayed flipping and I tried to build. And I found out something really amazing, Dave, and I think you should write this down. If you don't know how to tighten your own doorknob on your house, you should not build a house. I'm just saying. So
note to self. All right. Got it. Yeah.
But no, seriously, I just did all kinds of things. And we were making money hand over fist in the North Dakota oil boom, providing housing for oil workers. But I also noticed that they had terrible internet and terrible cell service up there. So we decided to start a wireless internet company. And of course, we knew how to do that. No, seriously, we did hire some people who really did know how to do that, but it turned into just a massive, massive time drag, and it lost money every year. So, just doing things like that, just offshoots of what I was mainly doing was the main problem, and it almost always failed.
So then you read some stuff, you learned some stuff from Buffett. What was that like epiphany for you where it just all kind of clicked? You said, you know what, I got to focus. And then what did you decide to focus on?
Yeah, the main epiphany came from a 2014 book that probably everybody in your audience knows. It's from Gary Keller and Jay Papasan called The One Thing. Mm-hmm. And, it's a very, very well-written book. It took Jay years to write that little book. And I talked to Jay a number of times at Bigger Pockets conferences and elsewhere. And he said, like one of the big principles of that book is you chase two rabbits. He who chases two rabbits catches neither.
Yeah. Right.
And he also said in there that to say yes to your one thing, you have to say no to 10,000 potential distractions. And that's exactly what I wasn't good at. And so I just realized, hey, I'm in my 50s now. I'm going back now to like 2015. I've got to focus. I can't go into my, later years constantly chasing something new, constantly with a new learning curve. One of the big problems I realized, Dave, was I tried to get the same excitement from investing that I got from being an entrepreneur, and that's totally wrong.
Hey there, if you're a capital raiser, a syndicator, or a fund manager, and you're looking for a steady flow of incoming accredited investor leads, then go ahead, grab a free copy of my new book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings Every Month Without Cold Calling, Networking, or Chasing People. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. So you're chasing the excitement, you're chasing that entrepreneurial high instead of realizing that get it locked in and make it boring and successful.
Absolutely. One of the great quotes I read, I wish I'd written it, was from the first American to win the Nobel Prize in finance. And he said, investing should be boring. It should be like watching paint dry or watching grass grow. He said, if you want excitement, take $800 and go to Las Vegas.
Good advice. All right. So what did you decide to focus on at that time? And then what did you have to kind of say no to and divest yourself of?
Yeah, it was originally multifamily, but like I already told you why we jumped from that to funds. But once we got into the funds, we realized, this is a serious game. We're taking other people's money now. Right. It's not like I can just lose it all and start again. We're dealing with hundreds, and now we're over 1,000 investors who've trusted us with their money. And that's when I realized that this is very, very serious. Plus, I got serious about philanthropy, fighting human trafficking, rescuing victims. And I thought, this is no game anymore. I've got to really stay focused. And it's really paid off.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Any other big lessons you've gotten from Warren Buffett?
One really big one, and they're almost all related, but it's margin of safety. Okay. Buffett says the three most important words are in investing are margin of safety. And of course, we all know his other saying that, the first rule is don't lose money. And second rule likewise. But those are related in the sense that he was very, very conservative. And you would think that, he must have taken just massive, massive risks, used massive leverage to get such an edge, 100-to-1 or more edge over the S&P 500, but he didn't. One of the great lessons that's related to the margin of safety concept is Jeff Bezos said, the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos said, Warren, I looked at your investing strategy. It's so simple. Why doesn't everybody imitate you? He said, no, nobody wants to get rich slowly. And basically just having a large margin of safety, not taking big risks, not using a lot of leverage, basically assuming lots of stuff will go wrong and still, making an investment. Basically, it came down to intrinsic value. That's another way to look at it. When you can buy a property with, let's say like a self-storage property, they probably have 15 different ways you can increase income and value at a self-storage property, from adding propane and a propane filling station, an ATM, a billboard, a cell tower in the back, paving that unused 2 acres to put in boat and RV storage, expanding the sales of products like locks, boxes, tape, and scissors. Just charging market rates, which mom and pop operators typically charge way below market, trying to stay 100% occupied. So many ways to increase value. That's the intrinsic value that a typical mom and pop operator wouldn't understand. And if you can acquire that property and increase the income by 55%, you just increase the value of the asset by 55%, but that might increase the value of your equity by 100%.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. That answered the question I was going to ask you. How do you apply that in real estate? You just answered that.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So, Paul, now that we're kind of in the midst of 2026 already, we're going through winter, we're getting into spring. Where do you see yourself taking your company, or where are you going over the next 9 to 12 months? Where do you see things going?
Yeah. So as a passive investor, so to speak, in these deals, because we're choosing these operators, we first thought our main goal was to have great investor relations. Well, we did that, and we're doing that. And then we realized, it's not as easy as we thought to pick operators. And so last year we built a team of 4 people, and all they do is look at investments. We looked at 1,137 operators and investments last year and only invested in 6.
Wow.
We see that number continuing. But what we're going to in the future is asset management. Now, you'd think, why would you need asset management if you're passive? Well, as a JV partner with these folks, we've got to keep them, committed to their promises. We've got to stay on top of them. I mean, we used to think, oh, we'll get the quarterly reports and we'll know how they're doing. Now we stay on top of these folks weekly or biweekly. And we go out on property visits. We check their financials. We're logged into their bank accounts, read-only bank accounts. We're looking very, very, very carefully at what they're doing because, again, we've got investors we have to take care of. And so that's where we're going. We're really going into an era of really intense asset management in the next year.
So it's not necessarily direct asset management. Right. It's managing the asset managers.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very cool. I'm guessing there's a School of Hard Knocks lesson or two that happened that have encouraged you guys to go down that direction.
How did you guess? Yes. We've had a few deals where, for example, the operator was way out of town, but he was buying an asset in Atlanta. And the key was his asset manager lived really close to the asset, and he was a rock star. We met him, we sat down with him, we interviewed him. He's a rock star. Well, that was great. And we found out, because we didn't stay in super close touch with them, we found out like 6 months later that guy had quit.
Mm.
And, honestly, the property just went right downhill. And so we're really, really hoping and trying to help that company avoid foreclosure on that property. Now, because we're in the middle of the capital stack, we're way more likely to get our money back than the LP investors. We're, we're like a preferred equity position. But nevertheless, we don't want to just get our money back. We want to get our projected returns.
Right. Yeah, I can see why you're putting so much emphasis on that. I've spoken to a lot of operators, syndicators, whatnot, who that's a big part of their whole thing is managing the property managers, right? They might have third-party management doing stuff, but they need to keep on top of that third-party management. Just like you got to keep on top of the asset managers.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very cool. So, Paul, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your insights, what you've taken from Warren Buffett and others and actually applied in your own business. I think that was super valuable. If people are looking to connect with you, well, first of all, let me ask one last question. What kind of people are you looking to connect with these days?
Yeah, most of our investors have tried or successfully done, or sometimes not successfully, managed property on their own. They might be doctors, lawyers, IT professionals, retirees. And they realized, like the other day I talked to, I think he was a vice president level of at UPS or FedEx. And he said, we got so many rental properties that my wife manages on the side. We can't do anymore. And we're happy with those, but we've got extra income, extra, capital sitting around. We'd like to invest it. So they're investing passively with us. So it's typically somebody who either gave up or they just hit their max on, managing their own rental properties.
Got it. Very good. And if people want to connect with you and find out more about what you're up to, where should they go?
They can come to our website and we'll give them some free resources if they visit wellingscapital.com. That's WELLINGS, wellingscapital.com/resources.
Simple enough. Paul, thank you very much for being on the show. This has been great.
Great to be here, Dave.
And everybody, thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.